Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural Cyber Foundations Academy Virtual Enrichment Program. I hope you all had an enjoyable 4th of July weekend. My name is Michelle Gell. I'm a 30-year veteran of the cybersecurity industry, a 25-year veteran of Cisco, and one of the founding board members of the National Cyber Scholarship Foundation. I want to give a huge shout out to all of our finalists in the 2021 National Cyber Scholarship Competition. Together, we are all working towards the United States Cyber Challenge goal to find 25,000 cyber stars by 2025 and ensure their employment in the cybersecurity industry. The goal of this virtual enrichment program, along with the Cyber Foundations Academy, is to promote learning, confidence building, skill development, professionalism, and professional networking. Over the next 4 days, we're going to hear from seasoned cybersecurity professionals and esteemed cyber industry experts. They will be sharing their experiences with you on discovering how cool the cyber industry is, on building the right skills, and their outlook on how the future in cyber is exciting. It may be midsummer, and for most of you, and for most young adults, that might mean sleeping in, lazy days, hanging out by the pool. But for this group, it's all about ensuring the success of your future. You have already demonstrated exceptional skills and tenacity in solving some of the most difficult cyber challenges. This program will broaden your understanding of what it means to be a highly skilled cyber professional in the industry. Throughout the program, you will have an opportunity to submit questions for the speakers and the panels through the Q&A tab, and the questions will be moderated by a panel and passed to the speakers for answering live, and some may be answered online. We hope you will join us for the entire event, which goes from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern time each day. So let's get started. Our next speaker up is going to talk to us about the cybersecurity profession. What does it include, right? It's usually an alphabet soup of opportunities. And on our first session, Rob Lee will help you map out the possible career paths. Rob is the Chief Curriculum Director and Faculty Lead at SANS Institute. He also has an extensive career in multiple aspects of cybersecurity and is often referred to, get this, the Godfather of DFIR. In 2017, he received the most lethal forensicator we know and awarded at the 2017 DFIR Summit. Rob, I pass it over to you. Let's get started.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to share my screen and make sure I get this the slides up and running. Hold on, get that going. Excellent. All right. Hi, everyone. Well, go full screen now. Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Rob Lee. I'm the Chief Curriculum Director at the SANS Institute. So I'm really glad to be here. You know, one of the things that I feel very fortunate about is to help bring a conversation about what the different career fields are in cybersecurity. There's a lot of, what do I say, television tropes, movie memes that kind of surround what it looks like to be a cybersecurity professional. And almost every single time that you're on a TV show now, or even cartoons that my kids watch, there's always the individual that's behind the scenes that is hacking into cameras or breaking into doors. They always have some sort of person, but that's movies, that's television. That is not the reality of what you actually do as a career. And one of the things I really hope to touch on in the next 20 minutes is to walk through with you some of the most exciting careers that do exist in the cybersecurity field today. So a little bit about my background. I'm a Air Force Academy graduate. I actually went to the Air Force Academy to go into space. I had this, really far-fetched dream that I was going to become an astronaut, become a pilot, but they had this thing with a color vision requirement, and it knocked me out of becoming a pilot, also knocked me out of the space operations career field. So I was sort of left without a, full-blown career that I was going to be walking down. And of course, if you're 21 and kind of about to graduate from college with an astronautical engineering degree, you're what am I going to be doing with my life? And it was at this point, and I was already, this is, 1994, 1995, ages ago, timeframes, when I was already known in the squadron as kind of the tech nerd. And kind of that rumors went around to where I actually was recruited to be a part of the first Air Force cybersecurity warfare unit, the 609th Information Warfare Squadron, that I was recruited to and assigned when I was in 1996, once I graduated. And I was a part of this unit, one of the founding members of the unit, that basically stood up one of the first 24/7 operational security operations centers that protected 9th Air Force bases from internet-based attack. A little bit after that point, I was then pulled into the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, which I was then kind of drafted to investigate national level cyber intrusion events. Our first one that I ever worked on was the first nation state attack that the United States was ever hit with, Solar Sunrise, in addition to another one from Russia called Moonlight Maze. These events were, you know, when you talk about ABTs and nation state attacks, they've been around for ages now. And, you know, when I look back at the amount of years I spent in cybersecurity and working in the field, it's one of the reasons why, you know, like in terms of what we do in incident response and digital forensics, you know, I really broke bread on that and trying to say, here's what, you know, we actually should do when we're responding to these events. Went and worked for the US government for about 7 years after that point, doing this and that, and then worked with Mandiant, Mantech, and several other agencies in the area. And all along this time, I also worked with SANS developing a digital forensics incident response course. And later I was pulled in as a full-time employee of SANS now, where I'm leading all the curriculum efforts and all the courseware lab development that SANS has to offer. I'm really proud and fortunate for the career field. I'm glad I am not an astronaut. I'm really glad that this landed in my lap. You, if you're looking at, you know, is this going to be your lifelong goal and opportunities? I will tell you, there is so much opportunity and, you know, fun stuff that you all are going to be experiencing out there when working in this career field. And it's also very serious. You know, when you talk about, you know, who's going to be out there in the front lines of defense of organizations, financial firms, industrial control systems, it's all of you. It's all of you are going to be a part of that. You look at what's happened in the past, you know, several weeks with the ransomware attacks and the crippling effects that it has on everyone. It is individuals such as yourself that are on the front lines of dealing with that, protecting against these incursions, and also helping out those who don't understand the technology, don't understand the basics behind it. And we're just beginning. You know, this amount of information that you're being provided right now is equivalent to PhD level seminars that are given consistently. And you take a look at all the knowledge that you need from TCP/IP, networking, how computers work, programming, all of the skills that are required to become a professional in this industry. It is mind-numbing. And just all I'll just say is stick with it, and you will be successful if you love this stuff and it becomes a passion of yours. So just a brief history of hacking. I kind of hit upon this. When we think about hacking, a lot of you may have initially, you know, thought about your favorite TV shows, your favorite movies that are out there. You know, one of my favorite ones that is out there is Sneakers, is a movie from the 90s, which I felt did a really decent job of kind of demonstrating the entire concept around penetration testing and physical break-in. And, you know, hit upon in a lot of key topics such as encryption and how, you know, vital encryption is to protecting, you know, key aspects of the infrastructure. But also you take a look in here, there's movies like Hackers, Matthew Broderick, and War Games. We have Black Hat, you know, that we end up seeing here. But of course, the meme amen is always what you hear on a television show or some sort of movie or cartoon. And of course, it's, you know, something just like that in a snap where that occurs. Of course, in reality, is it really doesn't work like that. It is requiring a massive amount of knowledge. And there's a lot of people out there that when they initially break into a network for a red team exercise or offensive, you know, style, say, hey, can I potentially break in to test the defenses to see if they catch me? You're always kind of nervous, you know, am I going to actually be able to do it? So let's talk about getting into the field. You know, as a person who has hired a lot of individuals out of college, their first job in cyber, I will tell you that it has nothing to do about how well you rank in the class. You know, for a lot of people out there, so if I need to be number one, I'm going to be the highest ranked out there. Yeah, go for that. That's going to help you open up doors. Definitively do that. However, the things that I end up looking for are the three qualities. And this is what I measure in an individual when they're entering the field, because of the fact that when I look at them, when I throw something at them that no one has ever seen before, the science behind information security and cybersecurity technologies is constantly evolving. What we knew last year is no longer relevant today. Unlike other sciences and biology and everything else, you know what a tree looks like. You know what the frog looks like. The common DNA elements of that do not significantly change year over year, where they do in cybersecurity. So one of the things that I really need to measure is like, do you love this? Are you passionate about wanting to be a cybersecurity expert? Are you passionate about the field? Do you have to be pulled away from hands-on keyboard, not just doing your job and working on the thing? Is it something that's driving you on a day-to-day basis, even after hours, and saying, well, I'm researching this really crazy topic that kind of fascinates me? Are you getting into cryptocurrencies? Are you getting into some sort of like element related to it? But I'm always looking for that passion. The second thing is your desire to be an expert. And this one is kind of an interesting one to measure, especially a lot of you are like, well, how do I even know I want to be an expert in this field? Usually, especially someone that's coming out of college, I try to get them to talk about some other skill or some other avenue that they picked up. Maybe that they learned a foreign language because they were trying to impress one of their friends, or they were going on a date with someone. Maybe that they picked up golf in a month. Maybe they picked up, hey, model rocketry, something that shows that, hey, I decided to go learn the thing that was fairly complex, and where others end up hitting that brick wall, it says, oh, this is hard. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. They climb over it. They say, hey, I know this is going to be a little bit hard. Good. I'm going to move around it. I'm going to go ahead and work through what others find difficult and continue pecking away at it until I at least get a little bit of mastery. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to be wearing the dance shoes on the dance floor and everyone sees you as the dance master. This is mostly an effort to measure, are you willing to have the tenacity to overcome your own fears and ability to say, wow, this is hard, and say, can you get by it? Because what I'm looking for in hiring someone is when I throw something new, some new technology element no one's ever seen before, I'm gonna say, here, help me solve this problem. And you'll say, well, I've never seen that before. I said, neither have I. Oh, and then you'll get it, because the hacker mindset is always looking at things through that lens, saying, this is an opportunity to discover something no one else has seen before. This is an opportunity for me to potentially explore and touch upon things that no one else has experienced. That is a routine experience when you're talking about cybersecurity. The things that people are focusing in on today were not the same things that people were focusing on 3 or 4 years ago. When, back in 2012, the hottest, one of the hottest parts of digital forensics was memory forensics and analysis. It's not near as hot and prolific today. It's not as needed as it was back then. Things in technology shifts, and what is needed is your skills that are needed for that. But the technology base that you're learning in foundations and some of these others, yeah, you're going to need that, but it's going to get you to the point where you could say, I'm going to spearhead into these new research topics no one's ever seen before. Then finally, it's his willingness to fail. And this is a key aspect of when you're in a career field like this. You have to say, hey, I didn't get it the first time. I didn't get it the second time. I didn't get it the third time. But it was the fourth time I got exposed to it, I finally got it. When I was initially learning TCP/IP, I will tell you, it wasn't until the third or fourth time I was sitting in a class listening to a lecture on it that it finally clicked in. Up until that point, I said, this is crazy. I have no idea what someone's telling me about, sequence numbers and ACK and ACK, what is going on? But it was the fourth time. And sometimes you just need to see through that, hey, it's going to take an effort out of me. I'm not going to get it the first time, and I'm going to be okay with that. So let's talk about some of the general career fields that are available for folks out there that you can potentially dive into. First one I'd like to mention is the cybersecurity engineer. This is the core analysts, those who work in the security operations centers. They're potentially looking at deploying assets around the network to defend, respond, and interdict adversaries inside the organization. This is more likely the initial job you'll find yourself into. You start with a really solid base as a cybersecurity engineer, cybersecurity analyst. It is really fascinating and something that you shouldn't just immediately say, I just want to do the offensive stuff or the DFIR stuff. this is where you'll likely initially start, and then you potentially become more niche later into, hey, I'm actually really like this red team stuff as we're exploring. The career field I found myself in was digital forensics. This is when bad things happen. These are the folks that you call in to investigate. How did they break in? Why are they there? And what are they after? This also comes out of once you answer these questions, you get this intelligence aspect. You're learning about your enemy. The more you know about why they're there and their strategy and their tactics, the more you're going to be able to defend against it the next time. So digital forensics is a really key piece of being able to investigate, learn, and ascertain how an individual broke into your network, so you can feed that back to the cybersecurity engineers saying, here's how they got in. Let's not let that happen again, or let's create an alert for that signature that we just learned about. So the next time it comes in, we will have an alert sitting there waiting for them. So it helps build our defenses. The third career field is the offensive operations career field, which includes purple teaming, red teaming, penetration testing, and of course, working for nation states as offensive operations individuals. You know, hacking is a career in the military. Hacking is a career for a lot of people out there that, you know, are hired to break into others' systems. This is again where everyone's like, well, I definitely want to be the hacker. But just like everything else, just because you're given a weapon doesn't mean you use it all the time. You know, there's a lot of ethics and morality that's around the understanding of how this works. Looking at how you break into systems, finding vulnerabilities, understanding bug bounties, understanding all the ins and outs of this. This is probably the tip of the spear when it comes to the amount of knowledge that's required and the ability to do problem solving and understanding and analytics that is required in order to be the best penetration tester, offensive operator that is potentially out there. Now, one of the newer fields that does exist in addition to cloud, and you hear this all the time, is the industrial control systems. Those who are working in the industry protecting water, power, the grids from attack. A lot of these older systems were plugged together using old technologies that they simply connected to the internet that control the traffic lights. They control the power grid. They control how water is flowing and is working in the sewage as well. Everything is tied to it. But again, because of these older control systems that existed for years, in order to control them in modern technology, they basically added these adapters onto it that says, hey, I'm going to use an internet connection to open and close valves. Now, this is where protecting that stuff is essential, because if you think that in a future combat between two fairly powerful cyber nation states, that they're not going to initially throw punches against each other to take out a power grid or to mess with a network that says, hey, it's connected to a fairly large city, you'd be kidding yourselves. So again, this is a really interesting area that I highly recommend a lot of you take a look at, because probably one of the hottest out there, and one of the ones that is tied to, wow, the power went out. What happened with oil pipelines, and no one was able to pump their gas tanks with gas for about a week. And some of that was driven by the price and everything else and the demand. And some of the FUD that surrounded it. But in reality, they did shut down that pipeline for quite a significant period of time. So as a result of that pipeline shutdown, what effects did that happen? And it all came out of a simple ransomware attack. What if you actually had a nation state deliberately try to mess with these networks, and what would occur? These types of engineers are essential. It's a step up from the standard cybersecurity engineer. And it gives you kind of this aspect of how important these jobs will potentially be that's out there. So, this just gives you a taste of some of the cool career fields that exist. With only about 20 minutes to go through a couple of them, I wanted to kind of take a look at it. It's like every single one of those careers I went through, everyone's saying, oh, that one sounds cool. That one too. That one as well. None of the jobs I've ever seen in cybersecurity are kind of boring. They're all very fascinating. They're very fun, and it should inspire you, because, the other thing in here for those who are saying, hey, am I going to be able to make a living off of this? The answer is definitively yes. Cybersecurity is one of the ways that a lot of people have saying, hey, if I really want to make it and, feel like I'm able to, have an apartment or invest a little bit of, cash into Bitcoin, cybersecurity is the way to go. There's so much opportunity out there in it, and you can pave your own path. And it all goes back into those three tenets I told you before, is those who have a passion, a desire to be an expert, and a willingness to fail end up succeeding more than anyone else in this career field. I thank you for your time and open it up if we have any time for questions at this point that are moderated.
Hey, Rob, so I'm going to the question list here. Let's see. That's actually a good one that you talk about. Presuming, I love that you talk about passion, desire to be the best, and willing to fail. How would you say that we can demonstrate some of these qualities?
Very good question. For some of them, there's, like, especially you go back to the passion or desire to be an expert. It goes back into when I'm interviewing someone, I try not to get them to talk about something they're passionate related to cyber technology. I try to get them to see if is it ingrained in their personality that they're passionate about something. Maybe you're passionate about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and you have studied and researched something there. It's like, I want to be able to see that you are a passionate and individual that ties yourself into, I'm going to learn everything I can about said topic. The desire to be an expert is very much tied to that. And it goes into that aspect of when I was mentioning it before, that I'm trying to find something that you said, hey, there's a skill there I'm going to try and accomplish. It doesn't mean you're going to be the best one at it. And usually the examples I say, has there been anything in your past where you said, I'm going to learn how to play golf, or I'm going to learn a foreign language, or I'm going to learn, maybe robotics or a programming language in a summer. And some of that stuff does tie into technology, but you'd be saying, hey, wait a minute, that, learning Python during a summer helped me get over here. And I found I actually liked cyber. It's like, well, tell me about how you learned Python in a summer. What was that? Well, I bought this book and I watched some of these YouTube videos, and you could start to see that there's this self-drivenness that is starting to occur, this flywheel of passion that is not just I'm expecting someone to formally train me, that I'm willing to invest the efforts that it's going to be necessary in order to get from point A to point B. And it's the immersive side of, that aspect of both passion and desire to be an expert are there. And then the final one is when it gets hard, you just don't quit. That's it. It is hard. This stuff is incredibly hard. Just don't quit. Keep at it. Everyone feels the same. I should be better at this. I'm not good enough. Feelings constantly. Don't give up. Don't give up on yourselves. Just continue working at it. You will master this stuff. Just have that passion there, and the two will balance each other out.
Great, Rob. I love those tips. Here's another good one. For someone who'd like to break into and focus on the digital forensics field, what would you suggest as a starting path?
Oh, that's a great question. So digital forensics is really fascinating. It's like, how do I get started in it? Typically what I recommend is, again, understanding how cybersecurity, the defense works, and then typically get attached to the incident response team to start doing analytics in either the network historical data or endpoint historical data. And that is, kind of that bridge over. The other side to that I say is very important is understanding how attacks work. The more that you can understand how attacks work, that actually feeds into your knowledge, especially for doing decent digital forensics. It is, just like you see on the TV show, CSI and a bunch of other ones, they always have like, I call it the strumming guitar as they're trying to recreate the crime scene of what is in there. That's the kind of thing that I always tell people, that when you're trying to get started in this, you have to understand when someone does something on a system, what is the artifact that's left behind? And that's one of the things that's always fascinating to me is that in all of your devices, from your smartphone to your computer system, look how much of your data is constantly reminding you of your previous app that's used, of websites if you hit. That is stored somewhere. Start reading blogs and other thing else. Think about, okay, that text message there, let me Google text message forensics and see what people talk about it. Or can I truly delete text messages? And then you'll start to educate yourself more and more. So when you're using your technology devices and you see something in there that looks like a historical artifact, it's trying to remind you of something or your favorite, program that you're using, Google that and add the word forensics or cyber investigation at the end of it, and then read the blog articles that are attached to it. And I'll talk about where those things are stored on a system. And it's pretty fascinating that you're going to learn a lot just by where those artifacts exist and why they're recorded in the first place.
Thank you, Rob. Excellent. Again, excellent answer. Here's another one. So we have many high school rising college sophomore or high school people thinking about what am I going to study in college? What's the best kind of degree? Are there certain majors you feel enable and help get started in the cybersecurity field more so than others?
It depends. I mean, honestly, this is where I get a little bit on both sides of the coin. You'll always have people say computer science, but then that's going to definitively lean you into the programming and, like CPU design world. You don't necessarily need that, but you definitely need a strong technology background. So there's like a lot of IT related programs in universities now that allow you to explore IT infrastructure, networking, architecture, engineering, design that are related to that. And in some cases, from an educational standpoint, university, they're always looking for the formal programs, computer science, you have IT, this and that, but nothing out there says, hey, I'm gonna go learn how to design a proper network. Where is that class? Where's that degree program? And some of that architecture and design stuff is still finding itself in it. And it's kind of one of these things that you're never gonna go wrong with computer science. But if you're looking for, I'm not a computer science person, I don't like the programming near as much, can I still do cybersecurity? And the answer is yes. Look for IT related programs that don't involve programming. It really depends on your university that it's out there. But I've known some of the best cybersecurity engineers actually ended up getting their biology degree. But again, it's because they got into it, but then they took a right-hand turn by taking programs like you're taking right now, the foundations, and they started taking SANS courses and found out this is actually what I really enjoy. For the master's programs in undergrad, SANS does offer a couple of them that's out there, but just take a look at it from the sense that people will always tell you computer science and you'll tell they're blue in the face, but that is not the only technology-based degree program that's out there that can lead you into this field. Just you're gonna have to spend a lot of time on your own focusing on security, even if you did computer science. Computer science is not, you could take all these electives out there that'll still get you in computer science, but there may be computer security or related degree programs at university, and that if they're there, take them, graduate with that as your bachelor's degree. But if they don't have it and you're trying to say, what should I do? Is it only going to be programming? The answer doesn't have to be yes. That's
Awesome.
a really good question.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question, Rob. I think what you're highlighting is what I most frequently say, and others is, if you're in the cybersecurity profession, you are by default someone who loves to continually learn, because
yes,
the technology is new every day. I mean, I graduated from college in the 1980s, and it was in a mathematics degree. They didn't have computer science when I went to school in the Stone Ages. And so it's just constantly learning. There wasn't even IoT, like the attacks we're seeing today, the technology didn't even exist. I mean, we don't even know what like 5G is going to offer, 6G and robotics and automation and AI, ML. Like people that went to school 4 years ago didn't have that kind of stuff. And so
exactly.
I think the highlight, and I want to close with this, is foundations, extremely important. You have a strong foundation about computer architecture, IT infrastructure, some programming, and whatever you want to go in, whether it's penetration testing, forensics, building infrastructure, rack and stack security engineers, right? You can build upon that. It's like, get the foundations. And when you have your passion, you're willing to do something, you're willing to fail. That is what's going to ensure your success. That's what I think it's about.
100%.
So,
yeah. The
so
thing I would add on to that, if this were easy, everyone would be doing it. Just remember, this is not easy. Just continue working at it. Expect to fail, expect to feel that frustration. Frustration means you're learning. If you're not frustrated in any part of this program, either you already know it or you don't care. If you're frustrated, it means you're learning. So just remember that and kind of envelop yourself in that frustration. I'm not quite sure I get it. I'm frustrated. Ask people for help. But again, if it were easy, everyone would be doing this. But the reason why you're here is because you know deep down inside, this is your calling. And I'm really glad to be invited to give you a little peek of what you could be doing in the next few years.
Awesome, Rob. Thank you very much. Hey, I discovered we have one thing, we probably have more, but we have at least one thing in common. We both received a congressional nomination to the Air Force Academy. The difference was you actually got to go, and my ACT score was 3 percentiles too low at 91, and I didn't get to go. So thank you very much. And
thank you. Really appreciate it. Good luck, everyone.